Hello, friends. I am Sarah Moore, author of Peaceful Discipline and founder of Dandelion Seeds Positive Parenting. And I am so glad you're here. Excuse my ring light for just going out. It was like, you're done. No, I'm just getting started. Thank you so much for being here today. And welcome to Shake the Guilt and Reclaim Your Peace. I'm actually going to abbreviate this session a little bit because I know everybody is busy. So I will keep it short and sweet for you and give you a few actionable tips that you can use in the moment to give yourself some grace and create more peace and safety within your body so you have more peace and safety to share outside of your body. And by the way, I am on a walking treadmill, so if it's distracting, you are welcome to just listen to the audio and turn away. This is just one of the ways that I fill my cup for exercise during the day. So with no further ado, let me go ahead and get started and say, shaking the guilt. Many of us, and by many, I actually mean all of us have regrets in parenting. We all have had days or moments where we were tired or hungry, or the worst combination, hangry. Let's just get those two friends together, right? Or we were overwhelmed. Maybe we were exhausted. Maybe we lacked support. There are so many things that contribute to our inability to be a peaceful parent. And I want you to know that there is nothing in the world that you have said or done that somebody else hasn't also said or done. This is not unique to you. Obviously, we don't want to just justify it. No big deal, because sometimes these things really stick with us, but it helps to know that we are not the only one when we sometimes feel like, oh, I did this thing that was going to wreck my kid or really damage our relationship or whatever it is that we might be telling ourselves. And the truth is, everybody has things that they've had to recover from, things that they have carried in their soul for sometimes years that they just feel terrible about. And knowing that we're not alone in that really creates sort of an odd sense of community that we have as parents to say, what do we do with this information? Because we don't just want a bunch of parents and caregivers walking around with guilt and shame in our bodies, because we need to be able to exhale and move forward in a more peaceful way. So I'm going to talk to you now about some things we can do to shake some of the guilt. And actually, I'm going to reframe that and talk about shaking the shame. So we hear a lot about mom guilt or parenting guilt, which is why I chose that term. But in reality, as Brene Brown talks about, guilt is simply a teacher. We're supposed to feel guilty every once in a while because that's what tells our moral compass, hey, that wasn't the best plan. I feel badly about that, as I should, because it wasn't the best plan. But I'm going to learn about it and I'm going to move forward. And once I move forward, or at least once I commit to moving forward, I don't have to carry that guilt anymore. When I continue to carry the guilt, it's no longer guilt. It morphs into shame. And shame is a terrible teacher and it's a terrible liar because it will tell you you're a bad person. It will tell you that you are not worthy of forgiveness. It will tell you that you need to continue to pay the price for the mistake that you made because you are not worthy of letting it go. And nothing could be farther from the truth. So when we have those shameful feelings come up in our bodies and tell us those lies, we can have a little conversation with those feelings. I don't mean it in a literal way, but maybe for some of you, it is literal. But we get to get curious and say, what is it you're trying to tell me about myself? Am I not a good human? Am I a terrible parent? Should I never have had kids? What sort of lie is coming up? Because if I were to take a more compassionate view of that, let's say I could view it as my best friend, if I could view it as my religious or spiritual teacher who I trust and follow, if I could view it as someone who loves me unconditionally, they would say, oh, sweetheart, you are worthy of love. Yeah, you made a mistake. And you're human. It's part of the human condition. We are imperfect, friends. And if we continue to shame ourselves, we lose out on some of the joy that could be filling up that part of our body instead. So we're going to do a quick interactive exercise here together. And I'm going to ask you, and I do, by the way, a version of this in week 1 of my parent coaching program, and I'll talk to you more about that momentarily. But I'm going to give you sort of a different take on this than I do in the program. But I'm going to invite you to think about some sort of regret that you have as a parent. I know something comes up for me. I imagine something's coming up for you as parents and caregivers as well. And if you have lots of them, welcome to the club. Choose one, just something. It can be something big, something small, something that you feel awful about. And I'm going to ask you to feel it for a second. I know that can be really uncomfortable, but our feelings are information. And we get curious about what is it actually telling me? If I were to put it into words, what would those words be? And here's the thing. Those words would not be, yeah, you made a mistake, but it's going to be okay. Shame is mean. So listen to whatever it is it's telling you. And then in a moment, and feel free to pause me if you're watching this on recording later. Think about that for a second, but don't get stuck there. I'm going to guide you through this. Then I'm going to invite you to ask the question, is it true? Is that lie that I just heard actually true? Well, I just answered it for you. It's a lie, right? But do I have to believe it? Even if my body has been holding on to it as if it is the truth for who knows how long, how can I be sure that this is actually true? And by the way, this little exercise is a modification of some of the work of Byron Katie. I talk about her separately. I won't go into that right now, but this can be really useful to figure out, why am I holding on to this belief so strongly? It may be true that there's still a lack of connection with the child. Okay, but that's not the full story. That's not at the core of it. It may be true that you haven't completely broken that cycle yet. Okay, also true. But is it at the core of the lie that you're telling yourself about what kind of person you are, what kind of parent you are, whether you are worthy of forgiveness, all that stuff. So get curious about it and meet yourself with that gigantic compassion and grace of someone who loves you unconditionally, even if you have trouble loving yourself unconditionally. What would they say to you? And the other part of this little exercise that I want to do with you is to ask you, what else was going on for you in the moment when you did this thing? Let's look big picture, because when we are thinking about shame, we often get laser focused on this is what happened. Yes, and there's more to the story. Were you also, as I mentioned before, were you exhausted? Were you needing support? Were you needing information about how to handle the situation and you simply didn't know? Were you repeating patterns that you experienced in your own childhood because that's what your brain literally told you to do? You did not have a different roadmap. So your brain is literally just trying to help you survive by saying, oh, don't worry, I've got you covered. Your parents did this, so this is what you have to do. Our brains do that, right? Don't always love that, but our brains do indeed do that. What else was going on for you? What were you feeling? Go ahead and take a moment. Think about what you were feeling in that moment above and beyond the anger, or the rage, or the grief, or whatever the preliminary feelings seem to be. What else were you feeling? Were you feeling lonely? Were you feeling overwhelmed? Were you feeling unsupported? Were you feeling invisible? You know what it is that you were feeling. But when you add that additional layer, it is part of the key to giving yourself more compassion. Because if we can acknowledge as parents that we were legitimately struggling, our compassionate self comes to hold some of the shame and say, you know what? You make sense. This was legitimately hard. You legitimately did not have the support or resources that you needed in order to be as peaceful as you would have wanted to be. Because guess what? We know parenting on paper, much easier, right? I just do this, this, this. This is the kind of parent I want to be. Parenting in the moment is ridiculously tricky, especially if we are still working to resolve whatever pain we are carrying into the tricky dynamic that we recalled just a few minutes ago. So when we meet ourselves with compassion, not only can we get curious about what we were feeling, we can also get curious about what we were needing. But here's the reframe. Instead of, I needed them to do this thing, I'm going to invite you to look inward. What did I need that I wasn't doing for myself? It's not to say that other people don't have responsibilities and obligations as well. They certainly do. But knowing also that we cannot control others' behaviors and we can only control our own, it's an invitation to get curious about in what ways was I perhaps not showing up for myself? Was I not speaking my truth? Was I not in a healthy relationship where I could speak my truth and be heard? Was I needing comfort, care, rest, support, compassion, empathy, a night out? Figure out what you were needing because odds are really good that you weren't getting it. Because if you weren't getting one of your fundamental needs met, of course you are going to be operating from a deficit rather than a place of empowerment. And that sets us up for those tricky parenting moments that we sometimes regret hours, days, months, years later. But all of this to say, you make sense. You absolutely make sense, and you don't need to carry this weight anymore. I invite you, if you're a visual person, literally picture yourself taking off the backpack in which you have been carrying this grief, this shame, this discord in your body, so that you can move forward with an open heart, with more compassion, with more grace for the child or children and other people in front of you, because you don't have to carry around that story that you've been carrying around for however long you've been carrying it. So let it go. I also acknowledge and want to say, I know that this is not Elsa here. You can't just let it go and have that be it forever. It's a Frozen analogy, by the way, for those of you who are like, what do you mean, Elsa? Anyway, Elsa sings a song called Let It Go in the movie Frozen, if I wasn't clear about that. Anyway, when you release something like this, sometimes you have to put it down multiple times because your body has been carrying it for a while. So your body thinks it has to keep carrying it. It's kind of like if you have been wearing a really heavy backpack for a long time and you take it off for a moment, all of a sudden it feels like you're floating. You actually feel lighter than usual. That feeling of euphoria of, oh, I've released it, doesn't always last. Sometimes we think, nope, I've got to carry this all over again. And next thing you know, we're picking it up and carrying the burden that we carried all along. So you might have to do this exercise repeatedly. But every time you do it, it's like you are taking a heavy book out of the backpack, making it a little bit lighter each time. And hopefully you will get to a point where eventually it's just lighter because you are not carrying so much anymore. And maybe someday you can actually release it entirely and have it disintegrate behind you because you're done with it, right? So let's move on a little bit and talk about once you realize how much sense you make, you want to be able to move forward in a new, more peaceful way. And before I get into the how of reclaiming some of your ease, reclaiming some of your peace, I want to go ahead and specifically invite you to join my upcoming parent coaching group. I am going to be blunt. I really don't turn people away if they have a sincere desire to be in it. Right now, I have a couple of promotions going where you can get, what is it, $720 off if you just input the coupon code coach at checkout. Just, or maybe it's coaching. I think it's coach. Let me know if I didn't get it right, and I will send you the right one. But I think you can just put in the code coach at checkout, $720 off. If it is still inaccessible to you financially with that huge discount, let me know and I can find some other ways to support you. But I literally never turn somebody away who needs support. We always find something that I can offer that can lighten that load and let you know that you don't have to do this alone. So let's be in touch, but I encourage you to go ahead and apply to the program, and I would love to have you if you've already been through it or if you really want to master your skills, because honestly, teaching others is the best way for us to fully internalize the information. I also have a fully ICF accredited program that certifies parents to coach other parents and caregivers. So you can make it a business, you can do it just for yourself, whatever you want to do. But I have known a lot of people who have gone on to become successful parenting coaches in whatever terms they define success. Sometimes it's just, I don't have a lot of time, but maybe I have one client who I see for 30 minutes once a week, and it's some pretty good pocket money. So, or whatever it is. Other people do a whole lot more than that. But if you also want to apply right now to the Parent Coach Certification Program, enter the code CELEBRATE at checkout and you'll get another $250 off that. So again, you can message me if you want a refresher of what the codes are, but I would love to have you in the program. And we actually spend a whole lot of time in the program, not only talking about self-compassion, nervous system regulation, not only for yourself, but also for your child, but so much more that can really transform your parenting. So I would love to have you there. And now let's talk a little bit about what the moving forward process looks like, because frankly, what I get frustrated about with a lot of the programs out there is that a lot of people are like, here's what not to do. Good luck. See you out there. Or go watch Instagram. You'll get all sorts of tips. And yeah, that's true. But how many Instagram reels do you remember when you are in the moment of parenting your own child? For me, it's just about this. It's just about zero. So I'm going to encourage you to reclaim your peace in parenting one teeny tiny baby step at a time. Now, what that might look like is figuring out, and I'm going to invite you to do it right now for just a moment. I'm going to invite you to grab a pen and a piece of paper and pause me for a second if you need to, but simply write down a couple of your triggers. That's it. Just write them down. Things that bug you, things that set you off almost every time when you are struggling as a parent. For some people, they're going to choose little things like when my kid doesn't put away their shoes. For other people, it's going to be sibling rivalry, just knocks me out. I can't handle it. For other people, it's going to be entirely different things. Some are small things, some are big things. I'm going to invite you, again, pause me for a second, write down 3 or 4 triggers that come to mind. We all have them because we're human. There's nothing wrong with us. The triggers are just information. And when we write those triggers down, first thing I'm going to invite you to do is next to each trigger, write down the word small, medium, or large based on how big it feels in your nervous system. If everything is coming up as a large trigger, that tells me that you probably need some nervous system regulation tips. And again, in the program, we have a whole week dedicated to nervous system, but You can get extra curious about what kind of support am I needing right now? Maybe it's to some degree less about the other people and more about how can I create some peace within here because it's not happening out there and everything right now is feeling huge to me. That being said, it's possible that everything is huge. I don't know your story right now, but I do know that you are worthy of love and acceptance and support. If this is you, please seek that support, whether it's through my program or through something else. But part of it is about being able to move some of those triggers, whatever your triggers may be, into the medium category or perhaps even the small category. Now, if you have anything that is in the small or medium category, I am going to invite you to begin with what feels like the lowest hanging fruit. What can you reach most easily? What feels most accessible to you? If this small trigger or this medium-sized trigger simply went away, I could exhale. I could find more peace in my body. We would have smoother days, and I'd be a happier camper if only that thing were to change. And I am going to make a hypothesis right here that may or may not be true for you, but odds are good that if it is a repeated trigger for you, it's because something about the way you are perceiving it or the way that you are handling it has gone stagnant. You're handling it the same way that you've always tried to handle it, or you've approached it emotionally the same way that you've always approached it emotionally. I am going to invite you to reframe it mentally as this trigger is just information. What else is going on? What's happening for my child developmentally? What's going on for me that this is often a trigger? Maybe it's, I don't know, I'm making this up. Maybe before dinner every night, that's when your kids start to go at it a little bit and you're trying to get things done and it's tense and the before dinner time is just not a pleasant time of day. Maybe part of the solution isn't just what it looks like. Maybe you're hungry. Maybe you're thirsty. Do you need a snack? Do your kids need a snack? Do we need something to sustain us until dinner time? Maybe we need a change of scenery. Maybe we need a change of routine. Maybe we need a whole different plan that might be as simple as let's try dinner 15 minutes early or 15 minutes later. Here's what we're going to do instead. Maybe I can do something different, something wildly different. And I'm going to invite you to think about what is within your power to completely rewrite. It might be your perspective. Maybe, maybe not. It might be something logistical that you're doing. It might be, I don't know, you name it. But whatever it is, try that new thing for a minimum of 2 weeks, repeatedly for 2 weeks, every single day, no matter what it is. I want you to be intentional about creating change for this trigger, using things that are within your control to change. And if you're feeling powerless, if you feel like I can't do anything about that, that is literally out of my control, then I'm going to tell you that is not the trigger I want you to do. Pick a new one. Choose something where you feel like this is something that maybe I could do differently. And if you don't know what differently looks like, talk to somebody, talk to me, talk to a friend, brainstorm. As long as that friend, by the way, is going to recommend and support you in respectful, connection-based parenting approaches as opposed to punitive ones, find a resource who can help you collaboratively come up with a new plan. Or best of all, collaborate with your kids, brainstorm with them. Children have brilliant ideas, and it never fails to amaze me what sorts of ideas kids come up with all on their own about making problematic situations far less problematic. But sometimes we forget to ask. I know I have as a parent as well. Engage your kids and figure out what might we try differently. From there, after 2 weeks, why 2 weeks? Because things take time. But from there, odds are very good that that particular trigger, if not healed, may just feel different, might feel better. Maybe things will go backwards and you'll say, well, that wasn't the solution. Let's try something entirely different yet again. But if you continue to do what you've always done, nothing's going to change. We've all heard this, we all know this, right? But if we want to feel more peace in parenting, we have to be intentional about what that's going to look like and what we are going to do about it, because it's not anybody else's job to fix our triggers, which is really brave to admit, but we've got to own our stuff. And I will absolutely help you do that. If you want me to do that, just let me know how, and I will be here for you. That being said, I realize that finding peace, reclaiming our peace, is a process, but it's a process that we are empowered to take, to follow, to try, because we've got everything we need. We just need support. Maybe we need another opinion. Maybe we need something, some missing piece of information that will help us feel like, oh, I actually can. And when we can and we follow through, we see incredible change in our parenting. We see incredible change in releasing that backpack of shame and walking forward with an empty bag that we can fill with all good things: connection, joy, peace, love, forgiveness, repair, healing in so many ways. Let me know what kind of support you need. I welcome questions. In fact, I'll stop recording for the questions now. And thank you so much for being here. If you don't already follow my work, please give me a follow. Again, I'm Sarah R., middle initial R, Moore of Dandelion Seeds Positive Parenting. I'm on all the socials. My website is dandelionseeds.com. There is a hyphen, dandelion dash or hyphen seeds.com, where you can look under services, and I have coaching, I have the certification, I have mini courses and master classes and all sorts of things. This one is free to you because I care. And that's literally it. I want more peace in the world for myself and for my child. Peace is contagious, so I pass it along. Thanks so much for being here today, and I would love to hear your questions, comments, or thoughts below.